guys, and welcome back to day 4 of Inktober. So today I wanted to do something simple. I know that I mentioned that for yesterday, but I did really want something that I could let myself recuperate a little bit, I guess. So the thing that I've noticed with this Inktober, and we're barely into it, so it's not like I have much experience behind it so far, but I've been really pushing myself to create more creative compositions and things that are overall more interesting to me, which is very exciting. But I felt a little bit of, not burnout, but a little bit of nervous stress that I'm not going to be able to keep on par with the things that I'm happy with so far. So I felt myself pass up on certain ideas for Inktober pieces because I felt like they weren't good enough or special enough. And I was starting to feel that affecting me and affecting my calm as far as working on a piece. So I wanted to give myself a chance just to recover a little bit creatively. So I chose a subject matter that was pretty simple. It's just a portrait. And then I focused on making the details, things that were interesting to me, things that I thought would turn it into a piece that I'd be really happy with. And it was definitely the right choice for me for today. It was really relaxing working on this one and just working on a face. It's something that I really enjoy painting. So it was nice just to get back to my roots a little bit and let myself recover. I actually don't mind the amount of painting and time and inking and all the work that goes into it. It's just the creative energy that can be a little bit of a drain. So I think that's the thing that I need to be paying attention to the most as far as making sure that I am helping myself recuperate. I need to be ingesting very inspirational material right now, particularly because if I don't look at great ideas, amazing concepts, things that I love, I'm going to start getting dry on ideas. And that is my biggest fear for this Inktober, is to start running dry and creating pieces that are not interesting or mediocre for me. So I think that is my number one priority as far as making sure that I have the strength to make it through, is figuring out what I need to be able to stay creatively motivated. And this is absolutely something that I have experienced many times in the past, but I think I've been less aware of it because it hasn't been as compacted together, which makes it harder to notice when it's happening and what I need to cure that a little bit. So it's actually kind of nice to see, or to feel, I guess, what it feels like to be in this kind of a state, and then to be able to actually consciously know what's happening, know why it's happening, and start thinking of solutions. Because in my day-to-day illustration creation, I can start to pay attention to these kind of symptoms or feelings that I'm having and treat myself so that I can know when it's time to really recuperate my creative energies. So as I say, you can't create something out of nothing. You can't just create an amazing piece of artwork without ever looking at other artwork or amazing photography or anything like that, movies, whatever inspires you. If you're not bringing in things, you're not going to be able to put out things that are good. And that is something that I've always known, and I've always parroted back, and I've always stood by it, but I don't know that I've ever consciously made sure that I was consuming the right kind of materials. So I spend a lot of time looking at photo reference of figures and different people in different poses, looking for things that will spark my inspiration. I also look at a lot of other artists' work, which is extremely helpful and wonderful. But I find that the things that usually get me the most excited and inspired for a piece are things like movies or even video games, the kind of things that make me feel an emotion and has a story behind it. And I'm beginning to realize that maybe that's the key component for when I am feeling out of ideas, is that I need to find the exact thing that works best for me, not the formulaic thing that I think generally should work for artists. And by no means am I giving up on looking at other artists' work or looking at photography that is amazing, but I think that treating myself to the kind of media that works best for me is the way to go. And I'd love to hear from you guys. What is your favorite way to gain inspiration? What makes you feel the most creatively charged when you're feeling like you need some inspiration, some creative jolts of energy? I love to hear how different people enjoy different types of media. I am actually really excited because I've been putting off, well, not putting off, I've been waiting until Halloween time to watch Over the Garden Wall again, and I 100% recommend this to anyone. It is a fantastic show. It's a short series, so it's almost like a extra long movie, I guess, if that makes sense. And it's animated, and it's really, really beautifully done, and the story is absolutely intriguing, and it is the perfect movie for this time of the year. So I think that that's what I'm going to treat myself to tonight. I'm going to go sit down and start Over the Garden Wall again, and I'm going to sketch for tomorrow's Inktober. I also think I'm going to go and seek out some movies from like the film noir period of Hollywood. I have always loved old movies like that, old black and white detective movies. They feel like I'm in a separate time, like a completely different existence and reality. And in a lot of ways that is like that. And I've always found that when I've watched those in the past, I feel so excited and inspired to create some mysterious new illustrations. So I think that will be the next thing on my list of things to give me more insight on what I want to create next. Speaking of, if any of you guys have any recommendations for old movies, please leave them down below. I absolutely love finding new movies like that to watch. New old movies for me. And like I mentioned, for this one, I wanted to look for a few details that I can include for this that I would enjoy creating. That way it would make it a little bit more interesting for me than just a straight on portrait. So I wanted to create this very rainy, stormy, moody type atmosphere because it is very rainy where I'm at right now, and I love it. There's these huge rain clouds that'll blow in and then rain all day, and then it'll blow out and it'll be sunny, and then another one will be the next day. So I was really inspired by that. I also enjoyed doing this flower on the shoulder of her jacket, and it's loosely based off of Magnolia, but I definitely want to get more practice in learning how to draw correct foliage. I think that that's something that I can focus on in the next Inktober pieces, is including plants like that. I love the detail, and I love that I can create these organic shapes with them. They just create a lot of interest without really much thought, I guess. I don't want to say it's thoughtless, but just adding plants to an illustration just gives it a lot more depth than it would have without it. So I would like to be able to use those more, and I do want to make sure that I'm following them a little bit closer to reality. And as always, I do have a list in the description with all the tools that I'm using. It's pretty much going to be the same throughout Inktober. I am really happy with the set of tools that I'm using, and I love the fact that I don't have to think about what I'm going to use, and especially that I don't have to think about color palettes. It is incredibly liberating to be able to just focus on the content and then the line work and a little bit of the value. It is actually very, very nice to be able to go into these Inktober pieces without that. And I do think that by the end, this is going to help me push my values a lot more. I know that that's something that I haven't given enough attention to in my normal illustrations. I don't make sure that the values are completely nailed down. In fact, during watercolor class in college, we had to make sure that we did a lot of color comps, but when we turned it in, we also had to include a color comp of the values alone, as well as a color comp of the colors. And I haven't really done that in a long time, and it really did serve me well in that class. It really helped me make sure that the values were allocated correctly and that it had the flow that I wanted. So I think that if I learn anything from Inktober, hopefully it'll be that I need to go back to the basics of making sure that I have my values sorted out. And I think one small critique that I will actually probably go back in and add is I think that this piece could have been a little bit more balanced out if I had one larger leaf up in the upper left hand rule of thirds mark right there. I think it would balance her out a little bit more, and it would add more variety to the leaves in the background. But that actually will be really easy to add one more up there. Or actually I might do like one larger one and one smaller one next to it. And that is it for today's Inktober. I do post every day for Inktober, so if you want to see daily Inktober videos, stay tuned here. I'll be back tomorrow with another one. I do have the original of today available at my shop, and there's a link in the description as well as in the end card. I also will be compiling all of my Inktober illustrations into one book, and I'll be launching a Kickstarter for that. I think the plan right now is the 15th. That way I can have about half of them done by then so you can see my track record and make sure it's something that you're interested in. And I will definitely talk about that more so that you guys can know about it as we get a little bit closer to that time. But yeah, that's it for today. So I'll see you guys in my next one.